Social housing in South Africa is a dynamic process. There aren't any fixed models or hard and fast rules to use as guides. This means that it thrives on innovation. But what exactly is social housing, and why is there such a need for it in this country? One compelling reason is to improve the quality of life for the majority of South Africa's large and diverse population by providing affordable, subsidized housing of a high standard. And there's another major benefit. Decrepit and run-down inner city areas take on a new vibrant lease of life. Social housing projects are managed by viable, sustainable and independent institutions. This encourages residents to participate in the management decision-making that affect their own communities. What sort of people are these who benefit from social housing? They consist of primarily low to middle income families in search of a decent lifestyle for themselves and their families in rented, cooperative, installment sale or transitional communal accommodation. But what prompted the establishment of the Social Housing Foundation?
My initial response to that will be, what do I tell you? Because there's so much to cover since 1997 when the organization started in effectively what was a completely new sector, to the point that I think people didn't even understand what social housing was. Was it rental ownership? Was it rent to buy? These were comparatively new concepts. There was very little legislative framework that supported the notion of social housing. So all of those issues had to be communicated, had to be dealt with at an organizational level, while the institution itself had to come into existence.
The Social Housing Foundation was established by the Minister of Housing in 1997. The main mandate that we have as the foundation is to actually build capacity of social housing institutions to be able to manage and develop housing stock. Secondly, we are mandated to promote social housing.
Internationally, especially in Europe, the most common form of housing is social housing involving housing associations. It is also popular in the United States, Canada, France and Scandinavian countries. And social housing and housing associations operate to a more limited extent in Kenya, Zimbabwe and Tanzania. More recently in South Africa, social housing has come into sharper focus through a demand for the purchase of inner city housing on a collective ownership basis.
Social Housing Foundation's relationships with international partners has been a very important focus for us. One of the reasons has been the lack of experience that we've had in the social housing sector before, and the wealth of international experience, both good and bad, that we've been able to use to our benefit. And to that extent, we've been able to establish relationships with the EU, with the Netherlands, with the British Social Housing Foundations. We're continuing in that vein with Canada and a range of other international organizations. One of the main beneficiaries of this has been our technical assistance program, which for obvious reasons helps strengthen our ability to give technical assistance to other emerging social housing institutions in South Africa.
The organization reports directly to the Minister of Housing. Its mission: to provide strategic services towards creating a sustainable, vibrant social housing sector in South Africa. Its vision: to be recognized locally and internationally as a custodian of the social housing sector in South Africa.
Social housing is a form of housing that actually gives an alternative to home ownership. The Minister of Housing realized that you cannot only offer people one form of tenure. Basically, social housing addresses issues such as affordability. Therefore, people who cannot own homes are able to rent. Social housing addresses issues such as social integration, where you would find that in the past, different groups were living apart. The projects that we have, you find people of different races being able to live together. It also addresses the issue of economic integration. The physical location of projects is within the mainstream of our cities, and the essence of social housing in our context is to try and regenerate our cities, make our cities more efficient. The emphasis so far has been that it should be made accessible to poor people and people who are earning up to 3,500.
Africa is a dynamic process. There aren't any fixed models or hard and fast rules to use as guides. This means that it thrives on innovation. But what exactly is social housing? And why is there such a need for it in this country? Major benefit: decrepit and run-down inner city areas take on a new vibrant lease of life. Social housing projects are managed by viable, sustainable and independent institutions. This encourages residents to get cooperative, installment sale or transitional communal accommodation. But what prompted the establishment of the Social Housing Foundation?
My initial response to that will be, what do I tell you? Because there's so much to cover since 1997 when they organized social housing. So all of those issues had to be communicated, had to be dealt with at an organizational level while the institution itself had to come into existence.
The Social Housing Foundation was established by the Minister of Housing in 1997.
Involving housing associations. It is also popular in the United States, Canada, France and Scandinavian countries. And social housing and housing associations operate to a more limited extent in Kenya, Zimbabwe and Tanzania. More recently in South Africa, social housing has come into sharper focus through a demand for the purchase of inner city housing on a collective ownership.
One of the main beneficiaries of this has been our technical assistance program, which for obvious reasons helps strengthen our ability to give technical assistance to other emerging social housing institutions in South Africa.
The organization reports directly to the Minister of Housing. Its mission: to provide strategic services towards creating a sustainable, vibrant social housing sector in South Africa. Its vision: to be recognized locally and internationally as a custodian of the social housing sector in South Africa.
Social housing is a form of housing that actually gives an alternative to home ownership. The Minister of Housing realized that you cannot only offer people one form